He walked right past me. No nod, no glance, not even the basic human courtesy of eye contact. Just that quiet arrogance that men like him spent a lifetime perfecting. And I stood there, in a tailored suit, holding a drink, completely invisible to him. And here's what Roland Rowe didn't know. Their tech company, his entire empire, depended on it. I co-founded it, and in just a few minutes, he was going to find out. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, overlooked, or treated like you simply didn't matter, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button right now, because on this channel, we tell the stories of people who were written off and then quietly rewrote everything. Like this video, drop a comment, and let's get into it. Let me take you back, not to the wedding, not yet, because to understand what happened that evening, to truly feel the weight of that moment, you need to understand where I started. My name is Lucian, and the story of my life didn't begin with boardrooms or business deals. It began with a phone call. I was 22 years old, fresh into university, still figuring out who I was, when my whole world collapsed in a single second. Lucian, there's been an accident. Your father is dead. People think the hardest part of losing someone is the silence that comes after. They're wrong. It's the moment before, the moment your brain still thinks everything is normal, the last second before those words land and rearrange every single thing you thought you knew about your life. He was gone, just like that, no warning, no goodbye. One moment he was planning a visit, the next he was a past tense. And I wasn't alone in that grief. My sister Alda was 17, 1 week from her high school graduation, no mother in the picture, no extended family who could step in, no safety net of any kind, just the two of us and a life that had just been set on fire. The funeral passed in a blur of grey suits and dishes and hollow condolences. But what came after the funeral, that was clear, brutally, painfully clear: debt. Our father, God rest him, had left behind a trail of unpaid loans, failed business ventures, and mounting bills that his death did nothing to pause. The creditors didn't mourn, they mobilized. Within weeks, they had taken everything: the house gone, the car gone, even my father's workshop, a small shed behind the house where he used to tinker with engines on Sundays afternoons, gone. We were left with a single suitcase between us. That night, our first night truly homeless, Alda and I sat on the floor of a friend's spare room. She had her knees pulled to her chest, crying quietly into the sleeve of her hoodie, and I sat there, watching her, and I felt something shift inside me. Not grief, not rage, clarity. No one was coming to save us. There was no uncle with a spare bedroom, no family friend with a job offer, no inheritance waiting around the corner. It was just us, and she was 17 years old, and she deserved a future. So I made a decision that night, not out of loud, not dramatically, just a quiet, internal commitment that I have never once walked back from. I will carry us both, whatever it cost. What followed were years I don't often talk about. I worked at a campus cafe during the day, early shifts before lectures, apron still damp when I slipped into the back row of that auditory. At night, I delivered packages, heavy boxes, long routes, cold streets. I'd get home at 2 a.m. and be up again at 5. 4 hours of sleep if I was lucky, some nights 3. Every single dollar I earned went towards 2 lives: rent, groceries, Ida's school fees, a bus pass, and a winter coat. Somewhere in those years, I lost the girl I loved. Not because she was cruel, she wasn't. She was kind and patient, and she waited longer than she should have. But I had nothing to give: no time, no presence, no emotional bandwidth. I was a machine running on fumes, and love requires more than that. I grieved that quietly too. People say hardship builds character. They never tell you how much it hurts. Mine was built in exhaustion, in sacrifice, in the very specific loneliness of being surrounded by people your age who were discovering themselves, falling in love, making mistakes, taking gap years, while you were calculating whether you could afford both electricity and grocery this week. But I never stopped moving forward. After graduation, there was no celebration, no photos, no drinks with friends. I went straight to work, a small corporate job, Nothing glamorous, data entry, reports, meetings that could have been emails, but it paid consistently, and consistent was everything. We moved into a tiny apartment. Ida took the bedroom. I slept on the couch for 2 years and told her it didn't bother me. Every night I cooked dinner, even when I was exhausted beyond words, even when it was just rice and fried eggs, because sitting down to a meal together, even a humble one, felt like one act of normalcy I could offer her. But while she slept, I was studying, reading, learning everything I could about technology, software, business, infrastructure, because I had this quiet, stubborn belief that one day an opportunity would come, and I needed to be ready for when it did. The message came from an old university friend, Kai. He had an idea for a software platform, B2B, operational tools for large enterprises, technical, unglamorous, but genuinely useful. He needed a co-founder who understood both the business side and the technical architecture. He asked me. I said yes before he finished the sentence. My life split cleanly in two. Corporate job by day, startup by night and every weekend. We had almost nothing, no investor backing, no office, just two laptops and a shared Google Drive. One of our early co-founders quit within 3 months. We nearly folded twice. But then something happened. One client got results, real, measurable, significant results. Then another, then another. Word spread quietly, the way genuine utility always does. We didn't have a marketing budget. We didn't need one. The product worked. And in the enterprise world, that's the only advertisement that matters. Suddenly we had growth, then momentum, then a company with real venture, real contracts, and real leverage. But I stayed in the background. No LinkedIn posts about our funding rounds, no keynote speeches, no Forbes features with my name in the headlines. Because I wasn't chasing status. I have never been chasing status. I was chasing the moment my sister could live without fear. And slowly, inch by inch, year by year, we got there. My sister went to university, graduated with honors, built a career she was proud of. We moved out of that tiny apartment. We had savings, stability, a future that no longer felt like it could be taken from us overnight. And then she called me. I'm marrying Lucian. His name was Damien. I flew out to meet him before I gave her any reaction. Quiet, thoughtful, clearly devoted to her. The kind of man who remembers small things, what she orders at coffee shops, which side of the bed she sleeps on, what makes her laugh. I liked him immediately. His last name, though, Rowe. As in Roland Rowe? As in the billionaire whose company had been in acquisition talks with that platform for the last 6 months? I said nothing to my sister. This wasn't about business. Her happiness was not going to be complicated by whatever was happening in a boardroom somewhere. So I put on my best suit and I went to my sister's wedding. The venue was elegant, candle lit, white flowers, the kind of setting that makes everything feel normal. I spotted Roland Rowe early, tall, silver-haired, the effortless authority of someone who had never once in his adult life been uncertain about whether he belonged in a room. He moved through the crowd the way powerful men do, not rudely, not loudly, just weightless, like gravity was a consideration for other people. He walked past me at the dinner table, not a glance. I watched him stop to shake the hand of a local politician I recognized. Warm smile, engaged eyes, firm grip. And then he turned and I was standing 2 feet away. Nothing. I didn't exist. I picked up my drink and I almost smiled. That's fine, Roland. Let's see how this evening unfolds. The ceremony was kind. My sister was radiant. The kind of happiness that doesn't perform itself, that just radiates quietly from a person who has finally arrived somewhere safe. I felt my throat tighten watching her. This is what it was all for. Dinner, toast, dancing, and then unexpectedly the MC called my name. I hadn't planned to speak, but something in me stood up before my brain caught up. I walked to the microphone. The room quieted. Good evening. My name is Lucian, and I'm Ida's brother. I paused. But I wasn't just her brother. And then I told them everything. The phone call at 22, the debt, the suitcase, the couch I slept on for 2 years, the packages I delivered at 2 a.m., the girl I lost because I had nothing left to give, the nights no one saw, the years no one asked about. I told them about a scared 17-year-old crying in her hoodie and the decision I made that night that changed the entire trajectory of my life. The room had gone completely still. Ida was crying. Damon had his hand on her back, and somewhere in the middle of the room, Roland Rowe had turned to look at me. I finished the personal part of the speech, and then I said, almost as a footnote, almost casually, during those years, I built a software company. A few heads turned. Today, it supports the operations of some of the largest businesses in the country, and I watched his face change. Not dramatically, men like Roland don't do dramatic in public, but I saw it. The precise moment the calculations ran and the results came back. I stepped down from the microphone. I hadn't taken 3 steps before I heard, Lucien? I turned, hand extended, controlled smile, just a fraction too tight at the corners. Impressive speech, thank you. You're the co-founder, aren't you, of the platform we've been in discussions with? Yes. A beat. I had no idea. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I said the only thing worth saying. I know, that's exactly why I didn't introduce myself earlier. I wanted to see how you treat people when you think they're nobody. Silence. Enjoy the rest of the evening, Mr. Rowe. And I walked back to my seat. We never sold the company, not because of Roland, not out of spite or principle or any dramatic gesture, but because that night reminded me of something I always knew but needed to feel again. Not everything is for sale. His company still uses our platform today. The invoices go smoothly, professional, transactional, correct in every way. And my sister, she's happy, genuinely, completely, quietly happy, which is the only metric I have ever actually cared about. I used to think the point of success was recognition, that moment when the people who ignored you finally saw you. But that's not it. The real reward is quieter than that. It's the moment you realize you were never doing it for them. If this story hit you, if you've ever been the person in the room that no one noticed, building something in the dark that they've never seen coming, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe so you never miss a story like this one. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had a moment where someone underestimated you and you got to let the truth do the talking? I read every single one. See you in the next story.